In 2016, a 29-year-old British man named Simon Nellis was finishing up his term of service in the British Royal Air Force. After he did, he decided to visit a country he'd always wanted to see, and that was Australia. When he got there, it immediately lived up to his every expectation, but not only that, he also fell in love with a beautiful young Australian woman he met there named Jessie, and after that, he was completely sold. He moved to Australia that year. Now, flash forward 6 years to 2022, a now 35-year-old Simon was living his best life in Sydney with his now fiancée, Jessie. Now, Simon was an underwater photographer, he had become a scuba instructor, and he was also a very avid swimmer and ocean conservationist, so he loved all things having to do with the ocean. And it was partially for that reason he was very excited to take part in this upcoming charity event. It was going to be a charity swim just off the coast of Sydney. So on the afternoon of February 16th, 2022, at about 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon, Simon drove his car down to Little Bay, which is off the coast of Sydney. He put on his black wetsuit and he got in the water to go for a practice swim for this upcoming event. Now, he was swimming about 30, maybe 50 meters offshore. I know that's a big difference, but they don't really give accurate distances on any of the reports. But he's swimming what looks to be like 30 to 50 meters offshore when you see the video. And he's swimming out in front of a bunch of fishermen who are fishing off of these rocks. Now, unlike a normal beach, like most of us think of, where it's like sandy and then out into shallow water, these rocks that these fishermen are fishing off of, just immediately it drops off into deep water. And that's why they were fishing off those rocks, because there's plenty of fish in this deep water. Well, Simon, he's swimming out in front of all these fishermen, just going along face down, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a 4-meter or 4.5-meter long great white shark slams into him from underneath. Like you've seen them attack seals on camera like that. That's what it did to Simon. So Simon is lifted up into the air in the shark's mouth. Both he and the shark are in the air before the shark comes slamming back down on the surface. And just briefly, the fishermen on shore can hear Simon crying for help. The shark has him by the legs or lower waist. And as Simon cries for help, basically as soon as they got back down to the surface of the water, the shark shook, and then Simon was basically cut in half below the waist. Now the shark disappears with Simon's legs in its mouth, and at this point the fishermen who are on shore and can do absolutely nothing to help, a bunch of them pull out their cell phones and they begin to record. And many of you will have seen this video or these videos. They went viral pretty much immediately, but it's basically just Simon's upper half floating face down in the water, surrounded by a giant pool of blood. And again, there's nothing really these fishermen can do. You hear them on the videos screaming that somebody's just been taken by a shark, by a great white, and then you just see eventually the shark comes back up a few minutes later and it grabs the rest of Simon and disappears below the surface with him. Simon was due to be married to Jessie in just 2 months after this event. They were not really able to recover much of Simon. It's assumed that he was mostly consumed. They did recover part of his wetsuit.